Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's seminar, UK Long-Term Asset Funds, an Essential Guide. My name is Katie Taylor, and I'm a Principal Associate in the Financial Services team at Evershed Sutherland. I specialise in authorised funds and work on all aspects of fund formation, as well as helping fund managers to implement regulatory changes. Within my practice, I have a focus on authorised funds which invest in more illiquid and unusual assets, particularly property funds, and more recently, that has involved long-term asset funds, known as LTAFs. I led the Evershed Sutherland team on the launch of Aviva's first LTAF, which was the second LTAF to be approved by the FCA, and it was the largest LTAF to launch to date, with a fully seeded portfolio of 1.5 billion in assets under management. Since then, our team has launched several LTAFs across a range of asset classes, including real estate, fund of funds, private debt, and venture capital. I'm also a member of the Investment Association's Working Group for LTAF, working directly with the FCA and industry stakeholders, initially on interpreting the rules and now on key remaining issues as these funds are brought to market. So let me run you through our agenda today. So firstly, we're going to cover an overview of the LTAF regime and why we needed a new fund structure. Then we're going to move on to the features of a long-term asset fund. And I'm then going to touch on their target market, as well as what is known as the retailisation of the LTAF, by which I mean the ability to sell the LTAF to retail investors and some of the recent changes there. We'll then move on to actually launching an LTAF and how the FCA application process works, including practical tips based on our experience. And finally, we'll look at the future of the LTAF, trends we're seeing, and where we see the regime going. So, to kick us off and to set the scene, I've set out on this slide a couple of quotes from Rishi Sunak when he was Chancellor and Boris Johnson as Prime Minister back in 2020 and 2021, which is where the LTAF's journey really began. We were, of course, in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and you can see they set a challenge to the UK market to ignite an investment big bang in Britain. They wanted to focus on long-term growth by channeling pension capital into UK assets, particularly UK companies and infrastructure. The aim was to build back better after COVID and support an innovative, greener future for the UK with a resilient and diversified economy. In particular, they highlighted that at the time, over 80% of UK defined contribution pension fund investments were in listed securities, which represent only 20% of the UK's assets. In order to achieve their aim, they realised they needed to remove some of the obstacles that were in place in respect of investing in long-term illiquid assets in the UK.